Okay, here we go. So this is where we left off yesterday. Okay. Here is a map. Here's a map located on page 407. And you can see here on this map where the major battles were for the French military versus the land that they had to cross, where they did their major, the Grand Empire there, as you can see, which is the orange, bless you, and yellow. The Grand Empire, you have France, and then you have the Grand Empire, which is all the lands that he had overtaken in his early reign. And then we have the allies with Napoleon, which is the Austrian area. And then we have everything else, the Ottoman Turks down to the south, and the Russian Empire, where you can see him wandering around, and where he went to get out there to Moscow, and where he went coming back. So this is a just an ugly, ugly time for poor Napoleon. Spain is like literally blowing up here. Along with Portugal, which we were like, why isn't he embargoing Portugal? Well, because Portugal is just Portugal. Well, they're still fighting there too. Because that is the ports that Britain is trying to smuggle stuff in on. Now, we have to, Napoleon is not going to give up easily though. He makes his way back to France, and he gets there and he realizes, he kind of takes stock, takes survey of what's going on in Europe. And he realizes that as the news of the disaster reached the West, the final defeat of Napoleon was far from certain. He had opponents in Paris that people were trying to overthrow him, but he was able to fight them down. But what he had to deal with was, I'm going to sneeze. What he had to deal with, though, is that Russia, Prussia, Austria, and Great Britain made one big army against him. They wanted him demolished. They wanted him defeated because he was scary. He was taking over too much land. He was too powerful. So we have this allied forces, and nobody wanted to go up alone. They're like, yeah, we gotta get him beaten. Yeah. Well, go on and do it then. I don't know. He's a little scary though, and he's kind of big, and he's kind of mean, and I don't really like him. And like it says, neither the Prussians nor the Austrians were eager to risk another contest with Napoleon, and even the Russians hesitated. They wanted to. Then there were issues internally as well. The Austrian foreign minister, who we're going to talk a lot about, Prince Clemens von Metternich, he wanted to just kind of chastise Napoleon, let him keep France, but shrink the French Empire and take it over. But he also did not want Russia to come rushing on the scene. Womp, womp, womp. But so they didn't want Russia to take over Europe either, though. So they were kind of like, who's the worst enemy? Napoleon in Europe or Russia in Europe? And nobody could really decide. So they didn't want to even leave it open for chance. So that's why they made the combined military here. Great Britain, of course, taking over the seas. And everybody else was on the land. And I like the quote that Napoleon gave in the book to Metternich, why he would not consider the solution of making concessions, because your sovereigns born on the throne can let themselves be beaten 20 times and return to their capitals. I cannot do this because I am an upstart soldier. My domination will not survive the day I cease to be strong and therefore feared. He's saying it's all or nothing for me. I cannot give in. So if you want to defeat me, I understand why you want to defeat me. I get it. But I'm not giving up, because the moment I give up, I become a non-entity. It's like, oh, you make sense. So, therefore, we get the three groups together. The Russians drove westward, and then as they made it to Prussia and Austria, the Prussians and Austrians joined the military, and they go up against France. Wellington, from Spain, the British are coming up from Spain. And so now either way, what are we going to do, France? What are we going to do? Which way are we going to go? And Napoleon fights them at Dresden, the Battle of Dresden. If we look back to our map, Dresden is in... Where?
It's just north of Prague.
Yes, there it is. In the yellow in the area of the Confederation of the Rhine, there, just north of Prague, that red battle site. So he defeats them there. So he's on the winning team. But then we get to the Battle of Nations at Leipzig, Germany, which is just next door to the Dresden red bubble. And this is an ugly battle for him. Very, very ugly. They decisively defeated him. So this wasn't even a draw. This was like, you are walloped on the battlefield. The Germans called it the Battle of the Nations because we have all the major nations of Europe fighting. France, Germany, Prussia, Austria, Russia. The Spanish stayed home. Womp womp. So, they do this. In March of 1914, the Allied armies march into Paris. The jig is up for Napoleon. He decides to abdicate. Give up his throne. He's not forced out. He's like, I'm done. I get it. I was strong as long as I can. But he abdicates the throne in March of 1814 and is exiled to the island of Elba. Basically put on house arrest. But he's on an island. So I can't really see how this is a bad... You want me to live on this beautiful island for the rest of my life? That sounds good. So there he is, out on the island. And now we've got to figure out, what are we going to do with France? What are we going to do with Europe? How are we going to fix this? Big decisions. Elba, by the way, is off the coast. You can see it. It's a tiny little island between Rome and Leghorn on the Italian peninsula. So not a big bustling metropolis type island, but just a nice little island out there. So now what do we do? And they basically sat back. I picture this in my cartoon version, sitting back and taking stock of the area and saying, okay, we had the French Revolution. That was a bust. We had Napoleon, who looked really, really good until he named himself emperor, and now that became a bust. How do we fix this so this never happens again? Ever, ever, ever. And so we meet at the Congress of Vienna. How are we going to fix the borders? And this is the quadruple alliances there. Britain, Austria, Russia, and Prussia. France isn't in the conversation. So, we have to, and we want to do this fair. This is not going to be like Treaty of Versailles post-World War I, where revenge is sweet. They know that's not going to work. And Metternich realizes, Metternich is kind of the king of the day here. This time after Napoleon's final defeat in 1815 is actually known as the Age of Metternich, because he just is like the policy maker in Europe. So they get together and they decide at the Congress of Vienna, big moment in history here, 1814 with the Congress of Vienna. Big, big, big moment. It started in 1814, ended in November of 1815. It took over a year to get this done. It established the Kingdom of the Netherlands. We now have the Netherlands Dutch. Hooray! Their own country. So all of us who are Dutch, here's your birthday. We now have a Dutch. My kids high five you too, because Troy's Dutch. I am not. But Prussia and Austria gain some territory. These people gain and lose territory like shuffling cards. They gain it, they lose it. They gain it, they lose it. Yes?
What exactly is west of France? It's like, it says they gain territory west of France.
I think Yeah, go to page 413 and there's a whole map. Also got
Oh, it's like Canada.
Yes, they gained Canada. It's way west of there. Brings me joy. I think we have a ugly again. Let me look in our book here.
Austria's all the way to the
Prussia was given important new territories along the Rhine River to deter French aggression in the west. Austria gained full control of northern Italy to prevent a repetition of Napoleon's conquest there. West. The Rhine River is between Germany and France. That's the Rhineland. I think it's east of France. I think we have another ooze, because that doesn't make any sense. And there's no direct statement in the book. Does anybody see a direct statement in the book? Austria.
We know
Austria's got everybody yellow.
Yeah.
Fergie has an opinion.
Up by,
Fergie has an opinion.
You have an opinion?
No, I just finished his opinion.
Oh.
I feel bad that she cannot voice them.
We'll figure it out. If you do have an opinion, we'll pantomime it out. Okay?
Just raise your hand and I'll try to guess what you're thinking.
Because you have that kind of power in your brain.
That's how I live my life.
So Prussia and Austria. Prussia gains. Let's talk this out. Prussia was given along the Rhine River to control French aggression in the west. So the area between modern-day Germany and France. Austria gained northern Italy. As for the rest of the German states, most of Napoleon's territorial arrangements were left untouched. The venerable Holy Roman Empire, which had been dissolved in 1806, was not revived. Official end of HRE. It exists no more. They could have brought it back, and they didn't. So the end of an era. No more Holy Roman Empire. So, it was dissolved when he invaded in 1806, because he's like, this is now mine. It is not the HRE. And they're like, do we bring it back? No. Served its purpose. And so now we have Austria-Hungary, and we have what's going to become the German Confederation out of what used to be the HRE. Alexander of Russia reluctantly gets only part of Poland. They really thought, we were the reason for defeating Napoleon. We are going to get a ton of land out of this. It's going to be great. And they're like, here you go. Here's land that you kind of used to own some of it, and we're giving it back to you again. Winner. And that doesn't go over well with Russia.
Look at all the land they already have. Why do they need more?
Agreed. But look at the land they have.
Yeah, that's
Siberia.
Yeah.
And so if they can get all, because he wanted all of Poland, that would bring them into Western Europe-ish and give them those nice ports up here. Yeah. But Austria was not willing to give it up, and neither was and they didn't want Prussia or Russia to grow in Central Europe. So Austria is being the stinker pot there. Then we had an issue that France and Britain and Austria are going to make a secret alliance. And when Russia heard that, they're like, I'm good with half of Poland. I don't need an alliance coming after me. We're good. Thank you. And we moved on. Thereafter, this is when France comes back into the picture. So now we have 5 major powers of Europe. Okay? France, Britain, and the US. Russia, Austria, and Prussia. Hi. What's that for?
Tomorrow.
Oh, okay.
Scary. He just has a big smile on his face.
So, what's going on in France then? What's going on in France? We bring the monarchy back. We restore the monarchy, the French Bourbon monarchy. What a great idea. So we had the French Revolution from 1789 Now it's 1814, and the king is back. So glad we revolted.
What was the true purpose of the revolution?
Yeah, it was very weird.
The true purpose, fix the economy,
Okay.
fix the ruling, the leadership. Just a general fixer-upper.
Okay. That's what I thought.
If we aren't gonna bring, I had the song just bump into my head too. There's the trolls singing away. If we weren't going to, at first they didn't want a new king. They didn't want to kill the king at first. They just wanted to fix him, wake him up, and then he didn't. So,
What is Siberia technically called? Like,
Siberia.
well, we're trying to look up the temperature in Siberia and we can't find it.
Look up a town.
I-
Yeah,
You can't just, but I just want Siberia.
Siberia's huge.
That's not Western Russia. Yeah. You have Western Russia and Siberia. Yeah. Okay. So we have the king back, the restored Bourbons. I believe that the king is King Louis the 18th, because the 17th died. I think he's the son of Louis the 16th. So I think they gave him, I may be wrong on that, but something in there is ringing a bell. But, okay. France joins in discussions because they want to fix this, and we have Talleyrand. Talleyrand is the,
Can we try? Let's take a class trip to Siberia.
of all the places we could go in the bus, you want to go to Siberia.
I do.
You looked up very quickly.
We live in the frozen. I just want to see if we could survive. I think we could.
I don't think we would. Darboy girl and Green Bay girl, we would not survive. So, okay.
In the 6th grade,